In the middle of the Texas countryside, during the harsh years of the Great Depression, a frail boy named Audie Leon Murphy came into the world on June 20th, 1925. He was born near Kingston, close to Farmersville, Texas, a place of endless fields, dust, and poverty. Few would have guessed that this undersized child, the son of a struggling sharecropper, would one day become a symbol of courage known across the entire world. Murphy's early life was marked by hardship. His family was large, 12 children, and the Murphys barely scraped by. His father, Emmett, often drifted between jobs and sometimes disappeared for long stretches, leaving the family to survive however they could. His mother, Josie Bell, worked tirelessly to hold them together, but there was never enough food, money, or comfort. They moved frequently, chasing any small opportunity to survive another season. As a child, Audie developed a quiet toughness. He didn't complain. He worked. He hunted rabbits and squirrels to feed his brothers and sisters, sometimes selling game to neighbors for a few coins. By 5th grade, he dropped out of school to help support the family full-time. Despite his small frame, he worked sunup to sundown, picking cotton, hauling water, or doing any job that paid a few cents. Tragedy soon followed. His father eventually left for good, and in 1941, when Audie was just 16, his mother died of illness. Suddenly, the boy who had grown up with nothing lost the only constant in his life. With no family support, no education, and no future in sight, Murphy turned to the only path that offered a way out: the military. But there was one big problem. He was too young and too small. At just 5'5" and about 110 pounds, Murphy didn't meet the military standards. He tried to enlist in the Marines. Rejected. The Navy said no. Even the paratroopers wouldn't take him. But Audie wasn't the type to accept defeat. Determined to fight for his country, he altered his birth certificate, adding a year to his age so he could pass for 18. Finally, on June 30th, 1942, the U.S. Army accepted him. When training began, he stood out immediately, not for size or strength, but for sheer determination. He wasn't the biggest or loudest recruit, but he could outshoot and outlast nearly everyone. In basic training, he quickly developed a reputation as a marksman with a calm focus under pressure. Those qualities would soon be the difference between life and death. Murphy was assigned to Company B, 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division, one of the most battle-tested units in the U.S. Army. He was sent overseas first to North Africa, where the Allied forces were preparing to strike at Europe's soft underbelly. It was there that Murphy first saw the brutal realities of war, and he adapted fast. The boy from Texas had become a soldier. He fought across the Mediterranean, through the Sicilian campaign, showing courage and leadership far beyond his rank. His unit then advanced into Italy, where he faced some of the toughest fighting of the war. The mountainous terrain, the rain, the endless artillery barrages. Murphy was fearless. He volunteered for dangerous reconnaissance missions, often crawling through mud and shell fire to scout enemy positions. His commanders took notice. By the time his division landed in southern France in 1944, Audie Murphy had become one of the most respected soldiers in his unit. He'd been wounded, decorated, and promoted, all before he turned 20. Yet, he never saw himself as special. To him, courage wasn't about medals. It was about duty. It was about making sure the man next to you got home alive. But his defining moment, the act that would make him a legend, came in January 1945, during the Battle of the Colmar Pocket in eastern France. Winter had frozen the fields, snow covering everything in white silence. Murphy's company was defending a position near Holtzwihr when suddenly a massive German attack began. Tanks rolled forward, infantry advanced, and artillery rained down on the American lines. Murphy's men were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. The German force was overwhelming, and most of his company was forced to fall back. But Murphy refused to leave. He ordered his men to withdraw to safety while he stayed behind to direct artillery fire. As the Germans advanced closer, he saw an abandoned M10 tank destroyer nearby, its crew dead, its turret burning. Without hesitation, he climbed onto the flaming wreck and manned the mounted .50 caliber machine gun. For nearly an hour, all alone, Murphy fought off the German attack. Bullets tore through the air, artillery shells exploded around him, and smoke covered the field. He was shot in the leg, but he didn't stop firing. He killed dozens of enemy soldiers and destroyed several machine gun positions, single-handedly halting the assault. His unit, inspired by his bravery, regrouped and counterattacked, forcing the enemy to retreat. When it was finally over, Murphy was exhausted, wounded, and nearly out of ammunition. The field around him was littered with destroyed German equipment. That single act of defiance, standing alone against an entire attack, earned him the Medal of Honor, the highest award for valor the United States can give. He was only 19 years old, but that wasn't his only act of heroism. Throughout the war, Murphy earned every U.S. combat award for valor, a record unmatched by any other soldier in World War II. His decorations included the Medal of Honor, the Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, 2 Bronze Stars, 1 for valor, and 3 Purple Hearts for wounds suffered in combat. He also received multiple honors from France and Belgium, including the Legion of Honor and 3 Croix de Guerre. His courage inspired his fellow soldiers, but Murphy rarely spoke about it. He said simply, "The real heroes are the ones who never came back." That humility defined him as much as his bravery did. When the war finally ended in 1945, Murphy returned to America a national hero. He had become a household name, the boy who had gone from a Texas farm to the front lines of Europe and survived against impossible odds. He appeared on the cover of Life magazine, and soon after, Hollywood took notice. In 1949, Murphy published his autobiography, To Hell and Back. It was raw, honest, and deeply personal, offering readers a glimpse into the mind of a soldier who had seen too much. The book became a bestseller, and just a few years later, it was turned into a major motion picture, with Murphy playing himself, something almost unheard of. The film became one of the most successful war movies of its time, and Universal Pictures' biggest box office hit for 2 decades. But behind the fame and applause, Murphy was fighting a new enemy, one he couldn't see. The war had followed him home in the form of post-traumatic stress, though it wasn't called that back then. He had nightmares, panic attacks, and insomnia. He often slept with a loaded gun beside his bed. Loud noises could send him straight back to the battlefield. Unlike many veterans who kept silent, Murphy spoke publicly about his struggles. He even testified before Congress to raise awareness about what soldiers faced after returning home. He pushed for better mental health care for veterans, long before the issue was widely recognized. His honesty helped countless others who suffered in silence. In Hollywood, Murphy went on to appear in over 40 films, mostly westerns and war stories. He wasn't a trained actor, but audiences loved him because he was real. He had lived the kind of stories that others only pretended to act out. Beyond film, he also tried his hand at songwriting, co-writing country songs that were recorded by stars like Dean Martin and Eddie Arnold. Despite the fame, Murphy never became arrogant or distant. He remained humble, still preferring quiet life on his Texas ranch over red carpets. Friends described him as kind, loyal, and deeply protective of others, a man shaped by war but not consumed by it. Tragically, on May 28, 1971, Audie Murphy's life was cut short. He was a passenger on a small private plane that crashed near Roanoke, Virginia, while en route to a business meeting. Everyone on board was killed. He was only 45 years old. Murphy was buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery, his grave marked with simple words. No golden embellishments, just his name, rank, and the Medal of Honor. Even in death, he remained modest. Today, his gravesite is one of the most visited in the entire cemetery, second only to that of President John F. Kennedy. Audie Murphy's story is more than a tale of war. It's the story of a boy who had every reason to give up, but didn't. A child born into poverty, rejected by the military, who went on to stand alone against an army and live to tell the story. His courage wasn't about fearlessness. It was about duty, love, and the will to protect others no matter the cost. In every generation, heroes emerge, but few leave a legacy as powerful as Audie Murphy's. He became not just a soldier or an actor, but a symbol of what ordinary people can achieve when pushed to their limits. Decades later, his life continues to inspire books, films, and memorials. Schools, highways, and museums bear his name, not to glorify war, but to remind people that true bravery often comes from the most unlikely places. Audie Murphy never saw himself as a hero. In his own words, "I just did what had to be done." And perhaps that's what made him one